two, one.
Good evening. Welcome to the IATC Exchange Zone podcast state qualifying meet preview show. We're happy to be here tonight for another edition of our podcast where I think this is episode 9 on the season, and we are really getting close to the finish line. And no better week than this one coming up, the state qualifying meet. And tonight is going to be a wonderful episode as we take a look at every single site across the state. Things look a little different today here in the studio. We've got are you the new host?
I hope not. Hope not.
Aaron Thomas of Gilbert is joining us. Thank you for coming down, and we're looking forward to having you on the show tonight. So
Should be fun.
Yeah, should be fun. Kyle Wegner is at home. Congratulations. I know our listeners are eagerly waiting to hear the announcement that you finally had a
Yeah, baby finally came, or I guess he came early, but so Monday night after conference, we were supposed to go to the hospital, so was waiting for call, text, and didn't get it, so actually never even got to go till Tuesday. So long process, been a long week, but finally arrived Wednesday. Baby boy, Waylon Lyle's the name, and we couldn't be more excited and thankful and appreciative. Hospital staff was incredible. So very, very thankful. Just a little upset, I guess, if you win the RRC boys side, you get to be in studio.
You were remarkably calm if that was all happening on Monday.
So. Yeah, I was trying to just keep my mind off it. Just the more, if I would have, then I would have been super stressing. But yeah, every time right before the boys race, my phone rang, thinking it was, and the whole team thought it was my wife, and it was actually the legend Cooper Steeples. He was out in the course just calling to tell me that someone had was injured or needed a golf cart ride back, and so the whole race, our team thought that I had left already, just because they thought, then they saw me cheering, I guess, or coaching, and they were like, wait a minute, we thought you had to leave. I was like, no, it was just Cooper.
That's good stuff. We need to get Cooper into the studio sometime.
That'd be a hoot and a half.
Brock Bierman is running the controls tonight here in West Des Moines, and here is our schedule for tonight. It's going to be a great episode. Joined, I already mentioned Aaron Thomas here in the studio. We'll get to him momentarily, but he's co-hosting with me right now, so we'll have some fun until then. But we're going to take a quick fly through some conference meets that happened last week. And then, of course, we'll spend most of our time on the state qualifying meets. And tonight's schedule, of course, is sponsored by ST1 Sports. And this is going to be just a wonderful new resource for coaches. Anything equipment-wise, ST1 Sports is your new place to go for equipment. And they're doing a little promotional offer, and we're going to put that up on the screen here tonight with Track Guy, partnering with Track Guy. Matt Stone, the owner of the company. We've got some t-shirts for sale, and these are some cool designs, but you'll want to check those out at st1sports.com. We're trying to show them here on the screen, and there's some good designs here, partnering with Track Guy. So obviously, I think everyone likes those designs, and I think there's some kickback to Track Guy in that as well, which is always a good thing. So check those out. They'll be for sale for probably a few weeks, I'm guessing. So let's move on. The Washburn State Meet. Did you get a chance to go down?
I did not this year, so followed the results, but didn't get a chance to get down there this year.
Well, it was unbelievable. We had almost 1,600 finishers. I think it was like 1,590. A huge increase from previous years. Set record there. We set records across the board, attendance-wise, cars parked, apparel sold, everything. Cross country is in really good hands in the state of Iowa. There were so many people there. Eric Cogdale and his group just do a phenomenal job running that meet. His wife, the boys' staff there, the girls' staff there, the Centennial Jaguar administration. Really thankful for allowing us to host such a meet of this caliber on the campus of Centennial. But Kyle and I will go through this meet in our last episode of the year. But I just wanted to celebrate just an awesome day in Ankeny. as we crown so many state championship teams and individuals. And there's going to be some good runners coming up.
Some of those results were impressive.
Yeah. So congratulations to the teams, the individuals, and Centennial for hosting this meet. Interactive chat tonight. Anxious to see what people say for this. This is sponsored by the Speed and Performance Academy out of Cummings, Iowa. Check them out for off-season training needs for track and field. Get you ready for the track and field season in 2026. Josh Maxwell, the owner of the Speed and Performance Academy. What is the hardest state qualifying meet site this year? Is the quick chat. So throughout the show, if you would like to chime in, go ahead and put that in the chat, and I'm sure we will cover the hardest one that we think is. Do you have any ideas?
I don't know.
You probably just focus on yours.
I kind of get tunnel vision with it, so
I'm sure Kyle's got some.
Kind of like Coach, especially the last week. I have not had near as much time to dive in. Mostly dove into 3A and then some 1A today. But I think Starmont Boys is going to be tough with Beckman and Springville. And then Central Decatur girls with Earlham and Van Buren, I think, are going to be two of the hardest in Class 1A.
Yeah, and I think there's two ways of answering this question. You could have a hard region. I always call them regions, they're sites, but you could have a hard region like there's 3 really good teams and there might not be a bubble team and it's just going to be a very good meet. Or you might have one of those where there's a number 1 ranked team or a number 2 ranked team, and then there's like 13, 16, 17. So I think there's like 2 ways to answer this question.
And you get some of those where now that you have it where they have at least 5 individual qualifiers, but sometimes you get 2 or 3 really good teams and there's your top 15. And so that can be tough even on the individual side as well.
Yeah. As Kyler said there, a third reason for a hard region, individuals. Yeah. So that's a good one, Kyler. Thanks for chiming in. But PV Council Bluffs, I think those are 2 that we will cover closely. I agree. Those are going to be some tough ones in Class 4A. So add to the chat throughout tonight's show. So in the studio here, we've got Aaron Thomas of Gilbert. The Gilbert Tigers ranked number 1 in Class 3A heading into the state qualifying meet. 2-time back-to-back defending state champions. Gilbert's won 5 under your leadership. Just an incredible career that still has probably a lot more years left, but
hopefully
just a great start to your career at Gilbert. And I guess my first question, as you sit here, how did you get to this place at Gilbert? Where did you start? And kind of what was your journey to get to Gilbert?
Yeah, so I ran cross country and track in high school, Galva Holstein, so Northwest Iowa. Went to Northwestern in Orange City, elementary ed major, ran cross country and track there. So then I was just looking for a job after college and found one at Interstate 35, so south of Des Moines, and was boys and girls cross country, 7 through 12. I had the middle school, had the high school, was there for 3 years. When I was down there, met my now wife. She was at ADM at the time, took a job at Gilbert, got married, moved up to the Ames area, subbed for a year. During that year, was an assistant track coach at Ames with Coach Slutton and many, many other coach. Your grandpa was there.
Mm-hmm.
And then got a job at Waukee, was at Waukee for a year, helped with cross country there. And then eventually a job opened up at Gilbert for teaching. And then I didn't even coach my first year there. Mitch Anderson was the coach. He left, was able to start coaching there. And so this is year 19 at Gilbert, but 18 coaching. And so, yeah, very fortunate to be at Gilbert and just, great kids, great parents, great administration. And so very fortunate to have landed there.
Obviously, with the success that your program has had, as you build your coaching philosophy, you've mentioned you've been involved with some very successful programs, also been around programs that, were a lot smaller than Gilbert. how did you form your philosophy? Is it a blend from multiple coaches? Obviously, your dad was a tremendous coach as well. Um, how did you form this coaching philosophy?
Yeah, I think learning things along the way, um, kind of from how my dad ran things, where there was really an emphasis on getting people out and having a lot of people on the team, even though it was a smaller school, we still had pretty decent numbers. So that influenced some things. Then when I was on my own and it was just me, I kind of had to learn on the go. And then I do think the spring that I was at Ames, and then the fall, well, then the whole year when I was at Waukee, both doing uh, assisting with cross country and then girls track. I think those 2 years being around those programs and the expectation that they had and seeing the way that they ran things and the buy-in that the students and the athletes had really shaped some things for me. And then once the opportunity opened up at Gilbert, I took a lot of things from probably that year at Ames and that year at Waukee and the things I learned there to do my best to implement it at Gilbert.
Kyle, what do you want to ask Coach from home?
Yeah, first, you sure you don't have any signs of letting up anytime soon?
I don't think so. Although it is weird to do the math and be like, wait a minute, I'm actually probably on the downward side of years left, but not anytime soon.
Ah, darn. But no, I talked with Coach Chapman about this. Like you guys are a program that ours is, aspiring to build to. And you've coached a lot of very talented athletes in the past. Think of Thomas Pollard. You got Logan right now, Carson, Jacob. When you have such elite athletes like that, how do you balance the experience for those athletes and with athletes who might just be out for fun, team dinners? How do you balance all that with your squad?
Yeah, I think that's something we really try to focus on is making it a place that um, everybody can feel a part of and have fun. And so when we look at our schedule, we try to balance an experience like going to GRIAC for those varsity kids this year, or Heartland or Wartburg or some of those meets where there's a lot more 4A schools, to then giving our younger kids, our JV kids, opportunities to run against similar size schools, or even maybe some smaller meets where we've run our JV and the varsity end where they can be competitive. And so we sometimes maybe lean one way or the other, where we may get a little too focused on those top 7. But I think the other thing that helps is those top 7 are good kids, and they enjoy joking around with everybody at practice, and it's kind of just one big group, and we're all doing very similar things in workouts. And so there's some buy-in there that everybody kind of feels a part of it. And because there are those kids that they're just there for the team dinner or the fun, or their friends are out, but they also add to the culture and just keep things lighthearted at practice, so it's not 100% business all the time.
That's good. I thought you were going to ask him about this uniform behind him. He pulled that out of his trunk here.
I did. I had it sitting in there, and it's like I cleaned out a bag one time and haven't gotten it.
You guys haven't worn that for a while.
My first few years, first 2 or 3 years, we had that one, and then then we went to a new one. But yeah, this was when Deb Anderson, who established the program at Gilbert, and that was one thing that did make it easier for me when I got the job at Gilbert, is there was already a tradition there that had been established with Deb and carried on with some coaches after her. And so we didn't have to maybe build that expectation of getting kids out for cross country, and understanding that there was an expectation of, we want to be at the state meet, we want to be competitive. And so Deb had established that. But yeah, these were the ones behind me are the ones that she had for a long time.
When when you pull a jersey out like that, is there someone else that you think of, or like what comes to your mind when you see that jersey?
I think of a few of our first few teams that we had, and where we were trying to, there was definitely a culture and tradition that Deb had established. But Coach Kottman, who's now the girls' coach, when she started, she was my assistant, and it was one co-ed program. And then we got to a point where it was just so big that we decided to split.
Mm.
And so I think of some of those early teams where we were trying to kind of put our fingerprint on what we wanted. And so there were certain runners that we had that were still very talented, and, state qualifiers, may not to the level that we've been at these last few years, but they definitely helped get things going in that sense.
I think while we're at it, I've got a P behind me, a green P. We better address that too. I mean, everyone knows what this is. The Pella Dutch with a uniform appearing here in the studio. I tell you what, I'm big on branding, and they've done a phenomenal job of branding their logo.
Yeah.
Everyone knows when you see the white P with
Yep.
green that it's
Yep.
Pella Dutch. But how about this? We've got history here sitting here in 3A, and then right here more history. Let me throw a couple stats out for you with this uniform. Now we're talking co-ed here, so I think this is a boys' uniform, would be my guess. But between the two programs, 6 state titles, 7 runners-up, and 6 third-place finishes since Coach Cutler got to Pella, coaching both genders. Pretty cool stuff for the Pella Dutch. But they've won state titles in 2009, 11, and 22 on the boys' side. On the girls' side, they're on a 3-peat streak right now, 2022, 23, and 24, and head into the state meet this year, obviously, as heavy favorites. I know you get to compete against them a lot. Pretty cool stuff. And you like competing against Pella?
It is. There's a healthy level of respect between the programs, and Coach Cutler's a good coaching friend, but just a good friend in general. And so I think we help raise each other's programs. I think back to the 2023 season, I don't think we run as well as we do that year without their squad, and things like that. And so they definitely I think between the two of us on the boys' side we've just made each other better, just because we know on our side that we can't really let up, because they're coming right there right after us. And so it's just kind of, I think, risen the level of 3A just in general.
A little bit on coaching, and then we'll finish up and get to the Class 3A sites in a little bit once we're done. But, I have a question. One thing that I see every year, I've been covering cross country for 8 years doing this show, and you guys have been very consistent every year. You run the same meets pretty much. You've added a little bit, but you've kept a similar schedule, and your guys are always healthy for the most part. Nothing really season ending ever. It seems like your guys always are fresh at the end of the year. What do you attribute to that to in a climate where it is hard to keep kids healthy for a full cross country season?
Yeah, I think we try to be patient early in the summer. It's very, they're building mileage, and we do want to, I feel there's a certain amount of volume you need to run to be successful and to be running at the level that some of our guys are. But we aren't super intense in the summer, and so we're not on the track doing workouts and things like that. We're running a lot off a feel in the summer. And so I think we come in, may not the most race ready always, but we're pretty fit aerobically. And so I think that's part of it. I also, the kids by and large are pretty good about communicating with me, like, hey, I've got, my knee's bugging me or having a issue here. And we're pretty quick to say, okay, let's cross train for a couple days. Let's pull back mileage and things like that. Sometimes to the point where they almost start to avoid me because they know I'm going to hound them about some of those things. But I was at a clinic one time, and and I've heard it said of, you're better to be 100% healthy and 50% fit or 70% fit than 100% fit and 50% healthy. And so that's something that I've really tried to address is making sure that we are healthy. And so if there are some of those things that pop up, I'm usually, hey, let's take a couple days off. Let's cross train. You're not going to lose fitness by missing a couple days and trying to catch things early so it doesn't linger into something that now they're taking 2 weeks off or 3 weeks off and things like that.
Did you ever have that argument with Coach Sletton?
I
lost every time.
At that time I didn't probably have the courage to argue that one. I just said, okay, yep, let's and deferred to him.
Yeah, that's funny. I immediately thought of when you said that quote because I've told him that before.
Yeah,
it didn't go well. For
no.
me.
I was much younger then, and I was just gonna go along with their years of experience and their.
Last question for me. The trend now is these training cycles where they're 3 or 4 weeks and we don't race for 3 weeks, maybe even 4 weeks. And it seems like the college model started with that about 5 to 8 years ago, and it's getting less and less for them, and it's kind of bleeding into high school. What are your thoughts on that?
We like to race. We go about once a week. I do like to have times in there where we're not racing. This year we ended up having a little 2-week break where we didn't race just because we were going to be down at the North Polk meet, and just the conditions that day of the course, I just didn't feel comfortable, as I talked to my assistant, of risking an injury at that meet. I think there's a balance to being able to train, but at the same time, with high school kids, they like racing, and I think going back to an earlier question about, I think Kyle had about keeping that whole group environment. I don't like to totally separate. This is what our 7 varsity kids are going to do, and this is what everybody else is going to do. That happens to an extent, and the kids understand that, but by and large, I want to keep everything of all 35, 40 kids doing the same thing. I think you can get some benefits from racing, and our philosophy has kind of been, if we're going to race, then we're probably going to do a different workout later in the week. We're not going to maybe do 800 repeats or 1,000-meter repeats at 5K pace, because we already got that stimulus in the race that week, and so we're probably doing something a little lighter or maybe even a little faster that week. And so I think kids, especially as they're younger and may inexperienced, benefit from just getting out and racing. And so but at the same time, I think if you have an experienced group and they understand the purpose of it, I think there can be some benefits from maybe having a 2 or 3 week break just to be able to focus on training. But so far we haven't. 2 weeks is about the most that we've gone without racing.
Cool. Well, I think you guys are really you just do a great job. It's fun to follow you. It's fun to watch you guys compete. Your kids are always very classy. When they compete, they don't brag. They're respectful to their competition, even when they're winning, by a large margin, which all the time doesn't happen. And just a really cool program, and we're lucky to have you down here tonight. So let's continue on with our show, and then we're going to come back to 3A boys here in a second before Coach leaves. Lead with Joy. We talked about this a couple weeks ago, Coach Priest and his Lead with Joy shirts. Well, he's also partnered with Track Guy. So Track Guy is just everywhere with apparel now this week on the Exchange Zone. But Lead with Joy, you want to visit this. They're going to be open for 3 weeks, and all of the proceeds go to Track Guy. So if you purchase a Lead with Joy shirt, all of the proceeds, and they've got tons of colors on there. And the message is: give grace, pursue joy, lead with love, and hold fast to hope. So really, really cool shirt. Makes a great holiday present for family member or friend. So there you go. We'll promote that here on our last few weeks of the Exchange Zone. Lead with Joy t-shirts, Matt Priest, Track Guy. Welcome to the zone, Kyle. Then we'll go to 3A boys.
Yeah, we'll kind of run through these ones pretty quick, but welcome McLean German of Martinsdale St. Mary's, currently number 6 in Class 1A. She has been a solid second runner for them this year, and a reason why they are ranked as high as they are as a team. Got Corbin Lucchesi of Roland Story, the Heart of Iowa Conference champion, by 17 seconds, currently ranked number 11 in 2A. Jonah Pringetz, Garner Hayfield Ventura, third place at their conference meet behind the dynamic duo of Lake Mills. And then Hallie Roberts of Des Moines Christian, a big race to be the conference champion over Laura Streck, Elise Erzin, the girls from Madrid, Grothus, Branderhorst. So very good field. Big week for Hallie Roberts and Des Moines Christian as they look towards their podium contentions here in the next few weeks.
Great, thank you. We're going to go to 3A boys. Our state qualifying meet preview will continue later on in the show, but while Coach is here and Kyle competes in 3A, I thought it would be, Kyle and I both thought it would be a good idea. We'll just have Coach Thomas and I go through Class 3A. And here's how tonight's going to work. I'll explain it again later. We're going to be focusing more on the teams in red this week rather than the teams in yellow. The yellow kind of signifies we feel like they have a very good chance of moving through into the state meet. The red means there might be a bubble team or a close competition to get 1 or 2 spots. So start with your site. Obviously, your team's a heavy favorite. We'll get into that more next week. Des Moines Christian coming off a really good meet. I think it's be interesting to see over the next couple weeks how they gel when they get their full lineup together. And you got 2 bubble teams here. Bondurant Farrar, who had a phenomenal RRC meet, placing 2 guys there in the top 6. And Nevada with head coach James Mills, second at the Heart of Iowa Conference, led by Trevor Nussbaum. Haven't seen their number 1, Dawson Lemke, all season long. Curious to see once if he shows up here for this last race of the year as a senior. Your thoughts at your meet?
I think I know, saw Bondurant, at the conference meet. They hosted a great meet on Monday and ran really, really well. And so I think they have to feel good, just the momentum they have coming from that. I thought Lemke, was he maybe their number 4, number 5 at conference?
Did he run, Kyle? Did he run? Did I miss it?
I think I saw him probably his first race
back for him.
Okay.
Yep.
And so, I'm guessing, another week or so he'll probably be a little more fit, a little more race ready. And so I know they probably haven't had their full group all year. And so, they're probably hoping that they can, put the pieces together at that qualifier. But I think just watching Bondurant race at conference, I think they should feel good about where they're at heading into that meet on Wednesday.
I agree. I almost put him in yellow, but you just never know. You never know. Bondurant with Hansen and Sanger, both really good at their meet last week. So we'll see how that shapes up at Iowa State. Next up, we've got the Pella region. This one plays out pretty true to form. You've got Pella, the host school, just chugging along this season, doing a very good job as always. As I'm swifting through my notes, a ways back at the conference meet, Dunham did not run. We anticipate that he will race this week, and I think they'll roll at home. Then you've got a nice little matchup here with CCA and ADM. I think this will be very close. Both teams third in their conference. ADM 36 better than Carlisle. Carlisle is in this region as well, but Ty Landfair's had a really good year for the Tigers, and I think they're a strong team. I expect them to get second here in this one at Pella, Clear Creek third.
I think both those schools, ADM's just got a ton of depth. Saw that at the conference meet, and then even on the JV end, they've got a lot of kids that are ready to fill in those spots. In Clear Creek, really good number 1 runner, and then as well, kind of a nice pack 2 through 5. And so they race against each other at our home meet early September, and ADM came out on top there, so it'll be interesting to see kind of the rematch.
Up in Spencer, way up there in the northwest corner of the state, I think we've got a lock there in Sioux Center. They've been running very well, both their girls and boys teams. Watch out next year, Coach, for this Sioux Center
They're
team.
young. Yep.
Very young. All 5 will be back next year for Sioux Center. They scored 23 points at their conference meet. Matthew Dom was the conference champion. And then I think we've got a battle. 3 teams for 2 spots. And, we'll start with MOC Floyd Valley, second in that Siouxland Conference with Isaac Hummel. Storm Lake, they were the Lake's conference champion. They've just been steadily running well all year with Joel Ramirez Pereira, the conference champion, over Hungerford of Spirit Lake. Head-to-head matchup this year, we've got Storm Lake 3-0 versus MOC Floyd Valley. 17, 26, and 31 in the 3 matchups. That's how much they've won by. Then we got a sneaky team here in Clear Lake. What do you know about Clear Lake as they go up against Northwest Iowa?
I think, Clear Lake, because kind of late in the year started to really come on. Or preseason, I think they were one that we had looked at as a possibility, and then not sure if it was injuries or what maybe weren't running as well early in the year, but lately have just been starting to run better and kind of creeping up on some of those teams that are, in that, 10, 11, 12 range in the rankings. And so definitely on the, upward trend. MOC is, probably has the experience. They've been to state the last few years. Feels like we've seen them the last couple of years. Went to Humboldt one year, went to Spencer. We've a lot of times been up in that area for state qualifiers. And so, I think there's something to be said for having that experience and having raced and qualified, where Storm Lake, little inexperience on that side, but that also can be a benefit of you're hungry. You haven't qualified in a number of years. And so, that motivation can be big.
I expect the 3 in the top 15 to move on here. I do think Clear Lake, as you said, has closed the year very strong. Next up in West Delaware, we're going to see number 3 Mount Vernon Lisbon. I think this Mount Vernon Lisbon team is legit. I told you that before the show. I think this is a state championship team most years, other than when they run into a buzzsaw like the Gilbert Tigers. But this is a very good team. 2 senior leaders running well. We'll talk more about them next week. Decorah, I've just been so impressed with Decorah all year. The spread that they put together is it's like they're on a string.
Yeah. It's like 15, 20 seconds every time. Yep.
And as we see in those races, if that lines up and they all click on one day, and they've been running well, that could be very dangerous.
Yeah.
Very dangerous, especially in 3A,
Yeah.
where some of those spreads are longer.
Yeah.
So I think they're a safe bet in West Delaware. And then you've got a really tight battle for the 3rd spot between teams that have beat each other throughout the season. You've got West Dubuque, led by Nauman and his squad. They come in as probably the favorite on paper, but Vinton Schellsburg with Alex Torres moving up to 3A. And then Solon, who just got a victory over Vinton Schellsburg. Then Vinton Schellsburg beat him at Wamack.
Yeah.
Is it Wamack or Wamack? Do you know?
I'm not sure. I don't know.
Okay.
I'll have to text Ben sometime and
ask Ben. Yeah. What do you think here?
Yeah, this is one that we've, being on the ranking committee, have discussed. Western Dubuque, you're essentially scoring 4 guys because you've got Nauman at 1, and so that makes a difference. They've got a decent pack 2 through 5, maybe a little further back. Vinton Schellsburg is one I think has been maybe a little up and down in the past few weeks, whether it's sickness, injury. So yeah, they've kind of gone back and forth. And then Solon is one that early in the year, again, kind of had in that 16 to 20 range, and lately have been running a lot better. And so, yeah, I think as I look at these sites and the ones that don't involve our team, this is probably the one that I'm most curious to see how it plays out, just because, you have, the low stick with Western Dubuque, and how's that compare to a team that maybe has a little bit better, maybe a stronger pack, better spread 1 through 5. And so, in a maybe somewhat smaller meet, when you're talking, 10 or 12 teams, 60, 70 runners makes a difference than in a larger field where that 1 point may not carry as much weight as it would in a meet like the state meet where you've got a lot more finishers.
It is going to be hard for those 3 in red to place well, with Mount Vernon Lisbon possibly putting 3 to 5 in the top 15. They probably will put all 5 in the top 15. Decorah could very well put that whole pack between 13 to 18.
Yep.
It's going to be a high score. I'm going to go with West Dubuque because of Nauman, not because he's going to win the race, but because of his leadership ability and to get that young squad to go with him as a group one more time, get him to Fort Dodge. But Zachary Dixon is a big part of Vinton Shellsburg with Taurus as well as their number 2. I think it's going to be very close. Williamsburg's our last site in 3A. Hard to believe Williamsburg's in 3A, by the way. I think we got move Grinnell automatically. Central DeWitt was an auto qualifier for me, but no Kyle Olson at the conference meet.
I saw that.
And that really throws a wrench into this thing because they do not have the depth to recover from not having Olson. We hope he runs. He's had a tremendous season. He's definitely a deck contender in Fort Dodge. I'm going to assume he runs and push Central DeWitt through as well. Then we've got Assumption, Fort Madison, and Ballard. And Ballard team that's kind of been not at full strength most of the year. This is just like West Delaware. Where do you go with this one?
Yeah, Assumption has really been running well lately, and kind of the same thing last year. They were kind of on the fringe of the top 15, qualified for the state meet, then ended up 10th at the state meet, and they've just been running really, really well lately. And so, I kind of like where they're at. And what you'd mentioned with Central DeWitt is true. That I noticed that Olson did not run at their conference meet, and Fort Madison is one that maybe hasn't raced against some of these other teams, and so it's a little harder to gauge sometimes of where they're at. But it feels like they've got an experienced group, a group that has been at the state meet in the past, and so I think it'll be a battle. And I'm not sure, but like I said, I feel like Assumption has been running really, really well lately. To me, it'd be tough to bet against them for that third spot if you assume Central DeWitt is healthy and running how they have been.
I'm going to go against the legendary coach here, and I'm taking Fort Madison, Kyle. I'm going to take Fort Madison as my first upset here in Class 3A to take down Assumption. Riley Tripp and Fort Madison, they didn't have their number 4 Southeast Conference champions. Didn't have him at that meet. I think that if they have him, they move on. But I do agree with you. Assumption's been running well. So,
and Assumption's, I think, number 2 from the beginning of the year. I mean, pre-hospital trip, I don't think he'd raced since like early September. If they get him back too, that's a big difference maker. Looks like they did. So he's back. So I think that's a big reason why Assumption's surged as of late.
And if Central DeWitt doesn't have Olson, they could very well be the 4th one out here as well, because Assumption beat Central DeWitt at the MAC conference meet. So, all right.
Confirmed in the chat, Kyle Olson is running.
Kyle Olson will be running. Thank you, everyone. And Coach Thomas, this was so much fun. Kyle, did he just take your job here, or you coming back next week? But hey,
I'm out.
What?
I guess I'm out. I got replaced.
But this was a lot of fun. And before you go, I want to sincerely, we mentioned on the show a month ago, with your dad, and just a tremendous man, special guy. Every time I talked to him, not only was it enjoyable, but he always provided a life lesson. And, just a tremendous guy, one that I certainly will miss. Huge part of this organization. We wouldn't be here without him, and a huge part of the officials as well. So we've been thinking of you, and I know he's very proud of you and your squad.
It's been obviously it's been a weird, or not weird, but challenging fall at times. But I think just the track and field community and just the number of people that I didn't really know that well, but knew my dad from officiating or coaching or things like that have reached out, with words and things like that has just reiterated just kind of the special community of coaches, track coaches, especially cross country coaches in Iowa. I think just goes to show just what a special community we have just between the coaches and officials and all those things. It's a very special community, special group of people.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to go to a quick 30-second break and help Coach get out. Are you taking your uniform with you, or
I can leave it here. I can take it. I may better take it back.
You better take it back.
Yeah.
All right. And we'll be back in 30 seconds and continue on with the program.
Kyle turned his camera off, so I'll leave him turn the camera back on for him to be added. There we go.
All right.
You guys live?
Oh, we're live.
Yeah, you guys live. Sorry.
All right. It's fun looking at you there, Kyle. All right, we're back. Let's get to it. We've got a lot to get through. This is always this is our longest episode, so be patient with us here as we want to make sure we recognize as many of the teams as we can. It's a quick conference meet flyby. It's going to go very quickly. We'll start in Johnston, probably the biggest conference meet of the week, the CIML Championships on the boys' side. It was Johnston. They are on fire, Kyle. They win again, or not win again, but Fort Dodge was a huge step forward. They finally get a conference title with that. 4 points better than Waukee Northwest. They ran very well. Johnston in the power rankings up to number 4 in Class 4A. They were in like 14 or 15. Jack Crossland breaks 15 minutes. I mean, holy smokes, what a meet for the Dragons. On the girls' side, it was Waukee Northwest again beating Johnston. Johnston starting to get their lineup back together. They still have 2 weeks. No panic button for the Dragons. Waukee Northwest is definitely a state title contender. They're legit. Alex Woodley with a 2-second victory over Laney Sundet. Those two were really good. Just a great meet at Johnston. That's all I got. Moving on.
No, nothing more to add.
Okay, you're up.
Little Hawkeye, one of the great balanced conference meets. It was the Pella Dutch with 22 points and an outstanding field. DCG coming in at 56. Fairby, I think you predicted that one, getting the individual win. I had not heard this, but it sounded like Messerly fell with 200 meters to go, but it was very, very close if my source is right. And then Heideggerken from DCG was the runner-up. And then the boys' side, very close like we predicted. I think I predicted Pella in the top 3. Well, obviously no Dunham. Means Pella's probably not finishing in the top 3, and they did not. It was the Indianola boys, 35, DCG boys, 46, and Norwalk at 49. Individually on a pretty tough course, Reed Robbins, 15:37, Tegan Kralik, 15:42, and Graham Eibeling at 16 flat. An outstanding conference meet from, I would say, all 3 of those schools. I thought Norwalk looked really good for third.
Yep.
How about top of Iowa? Lake Mills. I think they're peaking at the right time.
Holy smokes.
I did not expect them. I thought this would have been a lot closer. 36-66 over 2A, currently ranked number 1 for City. Rogney and Thompson essentially tie for that conference title. Big 30-point victory for them.
Southeast Iowa Super Conference. It was Waco getting the big win over Louisa Muscatine by 10. Columbus Community, my pick to win it, was third, just 21 points back. Tremendous competition down there as we expected. Jude Dykstra with the individual conference championship on the boys' side for Waco. Kyle, you've got the next two with the MAC.
Yeah, how about PV? 22 points to win that one over Davenport Central. Very, very close with Davenport Central and Clinton for third, 84-93. Individually, I think is maybe where the race was with Jolie Sullivan and Sarah Foad, 1748 to 1801 to get the victory there. And then this historically, probably between these two schools very often, PV and Bettendorf, a 2-point victory for PV. Bettendorf actually had the faster average time by 3 seconds, but it's Pleasant Valley getting the win. Pleasant Valley goes 4, 5, 6, 7, just like that Decorah pack that we talk about. You know, in meets like this, that's what gets the job done when you have that close spread. 57-second spread is what the big difference was for them in getting that victory over Bettendorf. Heart of Iowa, West Marshall girls, the big 8-point victory over PCM and Addie Thompson over Addie Teeter by 20 seconds. I think PCM had, on the boys' side, ended Nevada's, I think it might have been 7 in a row, Heart of Iowa Conference Championships for Nevada. I might be wrong on that. If I am, I'm very sorry. But PCM with the 1-point victory to win that conference title.
North Iowa Cedar League, not Northeast Iowa, North Iowa Cedar League, the NICL. What a tremendous matchup here with these four schools. Dike New Hartford, 92. Number 1, Sumner Fred in 1A, 95. Jessup, 103. And Grundy Center, 113.
Raccoon River girls, I got to witness this one in person, an outstanding race like we thought it would be. Gilbert over Winterset by 2 points, a pretty big upset. We know how good Winterset's 4 is. I think this is one of those where if you run it 10 times, you're going to have a different champion several of those times. And then Kiara Anderson was the individual champ to continue her hot streak. Twin Lakes Conference, Sioux Central and East Sac on the boys' side. It was East Sac with the 3-point victory. Spore, Aragon, and Engel going 2, 3, 4 to get that victory behind the individual champion, Lucas Waremont.
Good stuff. That was our quick fly through the conference meets. Graphic on the screen next. How about this for a neat idea? A little new podcast out there. The FE for female. Now, I'm no science major. By the way, science, I was awful. Horrendous, terrible, whatever you want to call it at science. Cannot stand science, but FE stands for iron. Is that a periodic table, Kyle?
Yes.
So
I'm not good at science either.
Iron for female just came out, and it specifically focuses on females and, that evolving topic of iron. Also, I think they'll dive into some more, female running conversations. It's actually a former student athlete at Pleasant Valley, coached by Jane and Kenny Wheeler. I think this is going to be a really good resource for people to listen to. And actually, Jane Wheeler was the first guest on this podcast. So check out Iron for Female. Do you go iron or FE? Just so iron? Iron for
I think
female?
iron.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. We're ready, guys. Get the magic wheel up. Here we go. We've already eliminated 3A boys, so if that comes up, we'll just skip it. We're ready to go here on the state qualifying meet preview show. I had some text today. When is the 2A girls going to go? And I said, I don't know. It's a wheel tonight. Oh, 1A. Here we go. 1A boys. Look at that.
All right. Giddy up. All right. Let's I'll lead off 1A.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Let's start with ACGC site. You can see Oakland Riverside there in yellow. I would say pretty much guaranteed a lock to move on. 3 teams in red. This, I think, is going to be very, very close. You could probably even add in some more, but these are the three that I think have the best chance. IKM and Woodbine, the two ranked teams coming into this meet. And then don't be surprised if Nottoway Valley or St. Albert jump into the mix here. I'll even throw one not on the graphic, Boyer Valley, but I'll stop there. This is we're starting off with maybe one of those sites that you talked about with Coach Thomas. One you're looking forward to seeing which team. One of the teams is going to come out. Maybe two of the in 3 it's two teams. Who is coming out of this site? I think this one's going to be a barn burner, but Woodbine is likely the team that's going to pull it out, in my opinion.
I'm going to take IKM Manning.
They got a good pack. They don't have the low stick like Woodbine, but that pack, we've seen what gets the job done on in championship season. So I would not be surprised if they do move on. Central Decatur, I think these two are pretty much a lock. Probably both going to be top 8, top 10 teams at the state meet. It's Earlham and Van Buren. I think both will have several runners individually qualify. This one is one of those where it looks like they only have projected 8 scoring teams. So we'll have a lot of kids up front that might not be in those team scores. So look for Earlham and Van Buren to move on. Emmitsburg, I think, is a very similar site. There's more scoring teams, but East Sac and Sioux Central, these are two outstanding teams, currently ranked 7th and 11th by the ATC. I know the cross country ratings website loves them a lot at 5 and 8. So I think these two teams move on very, very, very easily. What do we got? Newman Catholic. I think this one's like Riverside. I think Lake Mills, especially how they ran last week, move on pretty comfortably. It's a race for second, likely between two teams, with Ablington Parkersburg potentially have an outside shot. But look for West Hancock to try and pull the upset on Southwind. I think the big thing is going to be what can West Hancock do at 4 and 5. I think 1 through 3, they'll be right in the mix. Can they win some of those head-to-head matchups with Southwind? Hugh Conway is going to be tough to beat individually, but what can West Hancock do that to pull that upset over Southwind? I think it's going to be close, but I think Southwind's still going to pull this one out.
I agree. I think Southwind with Conway at 1, and then their number 4 is going to be a significant difference there. I'll take Southwind to go along with Lake Mills.
All right. Northland, I think, is pretty well set with Columbus Community and Linville Sully. I don't anticipate any teams giving them a run. Pekin Boys, I would say very similar. Waco and Louisa, they've both run very well all year. Waco coming in at number 4 and Louisa at number 12. I think the cross-country ratings website has those two teams even closer together. If anyone's going to give them a run, it might be the host squad Pekin on their home course. South Hamilton, this one, I think maybe a couple weeks ago, or preseason especially, this would be an Ankeny Christian Baxter sweep. Without question, it sounds like Max Handorf, I believe, is out for Baxter. If he's in, I think they move on pretty easily. Without him, it's going to be a dogfight with North Butler and Alta Aurelia and Manson Northwest Webster. Any one of those 3 schools could pull the upset here, most likely North Butler.
Yeah, I think North Butler gets through here.
Absolutely. Starmont, we got a nice flat course up at Starmont, and I think this is one of those where it's a 2-lock team with Beckman and Beckman Catholic and Springville. Both have ran very, very well this year, potentially Starmont pulling off an upset, but I do not see it happening.
Good stuff there, Kyle. I think we're ready for our next spin on the wheel. Oh, we'll have to respin. I already
Oh,
did
no.
3A boys with Coach Thomas.
Do it again. We gotta go through it all again.
Yeah, let's do it again. 4A girls. Okay. All right. I will start this one off. Back to a lot of paper here, Kyle.
All right.
Here we go in Council Bluffs. On the girls' side, girls designated with the girls' union famous pink. Boys was blue. Council Bluffs, we've got 2 autos with Centennial and DCG. I also think Norwalk probably an auto qualifier. But with their drop to 15, they set up a 15-16 matchup with Roosevelt. I do think it's a false 15-16 matchup, as Norwalk has been inside the top 10 most of the season. They dropped because they missed a couple girls up in Fort Dodge. Third at the conference meet for Norwalk. DCG was a runner-up to them. Hannah Schmitz, Gabby Dryman having a great year for the Warriors. Kyle, this is a team with all freshmen and sophomores plus 1 senior in their lineup. I think Norwalk moves on. Watch out for Roosevelt with some individuals, though. Isabel Spradling and Meredith Gentry have had a really good year. But this is going to be a heck of a front 6 individual race out there in Council Bluffs with some of the talent in this one. I think this would be a fun one. You got the Centennial girls, the DCG duo. You've got the Roosevelt duo. Just a good, strong field. You don't forget about the Lewis Central girls that are very, very talented out there. So a fun little matchup in Council Bluffs. Anything to add there on the girls?
Nothing to add.
Okay, let's move on to Iowa City. City High hosting the meet. And this features, in my opinion, 3 locks. City High, number 5, coming into this one as the divisional champs and the super meet champs. Just a nice season, steady for the Little Hawks, plus 22 on the head-to-head against Dubuque Senior at the MVC divisional meet. Then you've got Senior, the divisional champs, Lise Hoyer, running much better as the seasons progress. She's now moved into their number 2 spot for the Rams to go along with Chesterman. I think they're a very strong team. And then the Ames Little Cyclones we talked about last week in a really good spot. Fortunate to have this late season surge because they weren't even in the top 20, Kyle, for most of the year. That Fort Dodge meet got them in there, and they look to be in a safe spot heading to Fort Dodge.
That was going to be my question for you is, like maybe 2-3 weeks ago, I think that completely changed, Ames's recent success where some teams might have, they might have been
Absolutely.
slated to go elsewhere 2-3 weeks ago. So big last couple of weeks for them.
Risky, but it did pay off. I mean, you're exactly right, Kyle. As a non-ranked team, they very well could have ended up out in Council Bluffs with those 3, could have ended up at Marshalltown with those 3 top 10 schools that we'll talk about here in a second. Ames plays it pretty risky, but they get the reward here, and I think they'll move on pretty easily in Iowa City. Next up is at Johnston. Once again, I think 3 probably pretty firm locks. Now, West Des Moines Valley's been without Kate Vogel since GRIAC. Something to keep your eye on. That's closed the gap with them and Dowling. Obviously, Johnston's a safe push to state meet. They'll be a contender in 2 weeks. But Dowling and Valley have split here in the last couple weeks, once at Fort Dodge. Then Dowling got the better at the conference meet. I do think they have a large gap there with Indianola. Indianola's sneaky. Anything can happen. Southeast Pokes ran well at times this year, but I do think these 3 teams from the CIML move on pretty safely to Fort Dodge.
I'll agree with you on that one.
All right. Next up is Marshalltown, and same thing. I think we've got 3 yellows. Obviously, a lot of talk will be on Waukee Northwest next week. They're the clear favorite here. Cedar Falls has ran very well as of late. I think they're gotten better in the last 3 weeks. Kate Tomlanovich looks to be at her best right now to go along with Charlie Gall. And thanks, Brock, for throwing these up there. Nice little addition here to the show. But I think Tomlanovich and then Shani Meyer of Cedar Falls, a freshman. She's the difference maker in this Cedar Falls lineup. She keeps moving up towards the top there. You can see the depth Cedar Falls has. And then Waukees had a very strong year without their number one runner. Michelle McConkey has been out of the lineup the entire season for the Warriors. These three teams all in the top 10. I think they'll move on easily, setting up the stage for a chance to be in that top 8 at the state meet. And then the last one at Pleasant Valley at Crow Creek, just a really neat state qualifying meet site. PV, Linmar, they'll move on. Kozlowski of Linmar leading the charge for the Lions. Pleasant Valley with Foad is looking very strong heading into state meet. Maybe a little switch there at number 1, Kyle. Foad and Milage back and forth. Probably a good thing for them. We'll talk more about it next week.
Yeah, absolutely. I think obviously they're a lock here. I think the race very likely between 2, 3, 4, and 5 are going to be pretty close.
Cedar Rapids Prairie probably would have been a lock to push them through a couple weeks ago, but their number 1 runner has not been in the lineup for the last few weeks. And my goodness, I am just a mess with these papers. This is why you keep it on the computer. Well, it's a name that I was going to hope Kyle would pronounce for me.
Oh,
So
is it Harper
yeah.
Groshlin or something like
Yeah.
that?
Yep, that is it. That is correct. She's not been competing for Prairie, which makes that 3-4 margin a little closer. Davenport Central actually higher ranked than Clinton. Clinton's a sneaky team. They've had some good showings with the Sattlers, and then they've also had some kids not run, and that really affects their score. I think with they're at full strength, they're going to make a push here. I am going to go with Prairie. Too much experience at the state meet level, but good seasons for Clinton and Davenport Central. And I think they'll give them a run for their money.
I agree with the same 3 that you do.
All righty. So no differences in Class 4A on the girls' side. Let's head to the spinner. 2 down, 6 to go. This is the show. My voice starts to go away quickly as this show continues. 2A girls. All right, let me get organized here.
I like the sound effect with like the congratulations.
Is there a little sound on there?
I could hear it from my computer.
All right, let's do 2A girls.
Unless it was just Brock in the back room.
All right, 2A girls. Let's start at Eagle Grove. 3 locks. Van Meter, Dyke New Hartford, and Jessup. I think the conversation point here is who's going to win between Jessup and Dyke New Hartford. Jessup was +9 on Dyke New Hartford at Dyke, and Dyke was +3 at Jessup. And then Dyke just got him head-to-head at the conference meet. So Dyke's 2-1 on the season. But these 3 move on, and I don't think we even need to pick who's going to win between the 2 of them.
Correct.
All right.
I think
Van Meter.
as long as they move on, they'll be happy.
Same at Olwine. Wakan, Monticello, and Crestwood of Crestwood. And, you know, Wakan, I could see 3 in the top 10 here, Kyle. This is a good Wakan team, sneaky team with Downing, Benzine, and O'Neill. Monticello, you've got Mary Grace Lyons in there as the low stick in this one. And then Crestwood has been, you know, a team this year that's had a nice season. No head-to-heads with these schools. Lexus Dahlman of Cresco is the leader for that squad. But I think these 3 are pretty much safe. I think MFL Marmac maybe with a chance, but I'm going to go with these 3.
Yeah, I would say those 3. I think Cresco, which they're part of the Upper Iowa now, which completely confuses me. But I think they just beat MFL there. So I'll say Waukon, Monticello, and Cresco moving on as well.
Cool. All right. Pella Christian. Wow. This is this is going to be a fun race to see play out. Pella Christian and PCM, you got 2 top 5 teams. Haven't seen that a lot in these qualifying meets. I think the location of these sites is what set this one up. Obviously, PCM maybe could have gone over to Regina, but they're going to go down to Pella Christian to see number 3, Pella Christian. Those 2 are easily going to move through in this one. And then you've got the race for 3rd. Albia and Grandview Christian. Albia, probably the favorite going in. Where do you think, Kyle, on this matchup?
I think Albia too. I just think 1 and 2, they're not. I don't think Grandview Christian's going to get anyone in front of their 1 and 2. I also think they're deep enough to have depth in case any of the 4 or 5 have an off day. I think 6 and 7 are pretty close to get the job done and hold off Grandview Christian.
Yeah, PCM and Pella Christian. Remember last week, Pella Christian got the victory, so that'll be fun to follow. Albia might go 1-2 in this one with the Montgomery sisters. They're the South Central Conference champions, and GV with Parley and Ives have had a very strong season as well. I'm going to be with you. I'll take Albia, but very close. I think Grandview is going to give them a run for their money. Next up, we go to Regina. West Marshall and Mid Prairie. Mid Prairie gets Hostetler back last week, and so they're getting closer to that full lineup. But I'm going to go, you know what, Kyle? I'm going to say Mid Prairie pulls the upset here and beats West Marshall. They're predicted to tie. I think Mid Prairie wins by at least 10. West Marshall, number 1, I think they're second. And then this is where it gets fascinating on this site. Grundy Center or Tipton, the computer Grundy Center or Tipton, the computers say a 3-point difference. What do you think, Kyle?
Well, I'm gonna go opposite. I think West Marshall gets the victory.
Okay.
Man, these two teams match up so well. My goodness, Grundy Center, I'd say, is historically more of the dark horse. Tipton, as a program, much more often in the mix. Grundy Center also more recently up from Class 1A just a couple of years ago, if I remember right. Give me Tipton. I think the Tipton Tigers just edge out Grundy Center for third.
And I'm going to go with Grundy Center. Grace Storjahan has had a great year for them. She's a great, really strong track and field athlete, running well in cross country as well. How about this for a stat? Carly Lynch of Grundy Center. Her first meet this year, she ran 26:11. She's now down to 21:29 at Dyke New Hartford. And it's been a steady drop throughout the year for her. I'm going to go with Grundy Center to move on. Then up at Unity Christian, our last site in the girls, I think this one plays out very, very similar to the rankings. However, I think Trainer wins this meet. I think this is a very good Trainer team. Underranked at 7. I think they win this one pretty easily. 48-69-74. I think with Trainer, you've got Lily Meyer. She's having a tremendous season for them. And I just think they're very good. Unity Christian second with Katie Young, and Forest City gets that last spot.
No arguments from me unless we see a crazy thing from Unity Christian again that oftentimes seems to happen. But if anything crazy were to happen, yeah, I think Ridgeview or Cherokee would be the teams to slide in there.
And by the way, if Mid Prairie doesn't get back to full strength, I throw Trainer into a state championship contender in the Class 2A girls.
That's a good pick right there.
All right. Another one down. Here we go. Moving through here on the state qualifying meet preview show. We're down to 4. All right. Doing pretty good, Kyle.
I think so too. I like our...
You want to take 2A boys lead?
Sure.
This one's going to be some crazy ones in Class 2A.
Yeah, we're starting off crazy. That is for sure. Eagle Grove, we go. Denver, Okoboji, Jessup are the 3 top 15 ranked teams. Denver at number 3 currently, obviously led by Gomez and Miles Matthias. But Okoboji obviously has had a lot of success the last few years. And Jessup, I think, has been a surprise team for some this year on the boys' side. They are definitely the 3 that are favored to move on, but I would not count out teams like Van Meter and Garner Hayfield Ventura. especially with that duo from Garner Hayfield. We just talked in the Welcome to the Zone about their leadoff gentlemen. So look for one of those, two of those teams to potentially upset Okoboji or Jessup. I think Denver is pretty much a lock, but I do think Denver, Okoboji, and Jessup are the three that move on.
Yeah, Okoboji with Tyson Fears running a very strong season for them. They lost so much last year at Okoboji. Cool to see them kind of get things reloaded in a very quick amount of time. Jessup with Nesbitt's had a great year. Van Meter, 45-second spread. They're going to pack them in there. I just think it'll be too late. I'm going Denver, Jessup, and Okoboji in that order.
I will agree with you on that one.
Okay.
All
It's always
let's
good
go
when you agree, Kyle.
Usually when we agree, we're right.
All
Let's
right.
go to Owine. We got Owine, Waukon, Monticello. I think are three that move on very comfortably. If anyone's going to give them a run, Alburnett would be the team. But Alburnett, I believe, up from 1A just this year or recently. And I think it's Owine, Waukon, Monticello as the three that comfortably move on.
And we'll save more of this for next week, but is it crazy for me to think Owine could possibly repeat next year? Or, excuse me, this year? With the way 2A boys is setting up?
Yeah, exactly. And this is the we have 8, 4 classes, the 2 genders. This is the most wild class. Not just 1 through 3, 1 through 20. Like the rankings every single week, it seems like there's 5 new teams that jump in. This is a crazy class. So I think there's going to be this is the class where I think the most crazy things are going to happen. And because of that, I think you are on that Owine could be in the mix here or at the end of the season.
More to discuss next week on the Exchange Zone.
Yes.
Owine, their number 5 will be key at state meet. Obviously, Keyshawn Williams leading them. Very experienced from last year. Waukon, a strong year. Brandon Leppert, their top runner. Monticello with another Altoff. This is Aiden Altoff. A non-ranked Alburnett team is sneaky here, Kyle. And I don't think we can count them out. This is a sneaky, very good team. Their 1 through 3 is as good as anybody in this meet outside of Owine. But you never know. We're gonna find out. Hayden Gustafson's having a very good year for Alburnett. I'm gonna go with this, Kyle. Owine, Waukon, and Alburnett pulling the upset at number 3 over Monticello.
All right. I'm not going to agree with you, but I think I like the sneaky pick.
Okay.
All right. Back to Pella for the 2A here. Pella Christian, in which it is hosted at the college this year and not the sports park, from my understanding. But this one, again, I would still say it's between 3 teams, the 3 ranked ones: Red Oak, Pella Christian, PCM. If anyone's going to pull off the upset, it's going to be Shenandoah. Red Oak, though, I think is one of those surprise teams of the year. Ranked number 7 currently. Pella Christian currently ranked number 6. But I think this is another one. I think those top 3 teams are going to be very, very close. And they're all, going to move on fairly comfortably.
My question would be for Pella Christian, what's the status of Sawyer Minders? I think that's a huge piece of the puzzle here in Class 2A. If they can get him back and running at the level that possibly he was at last year, this is a Pella Christian team that you can throw into the state title contending conversation. He hasn't quite been there this year. I've heard maybe some illness, dealing with that throughout the season. A big piece to their puzzle for Pella Christian. I think Pella Christian wins this one. Red Oak, they win the Hawkeye 10 last week. Emmanuel Grass, obviously a great season for them. Hayden Heatbrink as well, running a strong second spot for Red Oak. PCM, the Heart of Iowa Conference champs, as you said, ending that streak by Nevada. Cash Fisher, Brandon Lehart, all conference. They got a good 1 through 4. I think any of these three teams could win this meet. I'm going to go Pella Christian, Red Oak, and PCM in that order.
I don't think Red Oak's going to get upset. I think Red Oak's going to take the win, followed by Pella Christian and then PCM.
Okay.
Let's go to Iowa City. I think, we'll talk a lot more about Sheraton the next couple weeks, especially if they're at full strength. Their number 5 has been in and out of the lineup all year. Currently projected without him, I believe, is the cross-country ratings projections. But even without him, they're still going to move on pretty comfortably. With him, I think they score 30 to 40 points, and they're definitely a state title contender. But then we get to the mix of who's going to get second, third, and third, probably between 3 teams: Tipton, Anamosa, Mediapolis, and West Liberty. I'm going to say Tipton comfortably holds the second place. I really, really, really want to pick even a deep sleeper here in West Liberty, but I can't bring myself to do it. I think it's between Anamosa and Mediapolis, and you can see on the screen there the how they match up. Obviously, Mediapolis is going to have the 2 low sticks to lead the way for them. In a race like this, it's about that, how soon can you get 5 in? And I think that's where Anamosa has the edge. Now, Mediapolis is deeper, so if anything were to happen with relying on a 6 and 7, I think Mediapolis has the advantage. But I think Anamosa is the one to get the job done here for third place.
Good stuff. I don't know. Tipton lost by 8 to Beckman Catholic at the RVC meet. Now, Anamosa in the same meet, 10 back from Tipton, which is roughly what they're showing here. Mediapolis, I didn't think they had their best conference showing down there in Southeast Iowa Conference, but they've got Wendell and Schmigdal, Weirs and Burrell for Anamosa, and then Bowman for Tipton. I think if you're under 100, you're safe. I'm just not sure any of these 3 can get under 100 that we're talking about with Tipton, Anamosa, and Mediapolis. I'm going to go Sheraton, Mediapolis for second, and Anamosa for third, avenging a early season or early week loss to Tipton.
All right.
I'm just really throwing them out there today,
man. The argument is there. It's not like you're just picking a random team out of a hat and saying they can,
here's the
they
thing,
can pull this
Kyle.
off.
Every year I pick the teams that are favored and never get them all right. So I'm just kind of taking a gamble this year. See how it pays off.
Nothing wrong with that. It's about entertainment, right?
Mhm.
We're about hot takes. How about Unity Christian here to wrap it up? We've talked a lot about Forest City, and we'll continue to talk about them. A team that the sneaky team in Class 2A might be Unity Christian, who is coming into ranked 5th and the second ranked team at this site. And third, you got Spirit Lake. I do not think there's anyone in this field that's going to challenge those 3 teams. If you talk about the 100 points being the magic number, I think all 3 are comfortably under 100 and move on without question.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. Nothing really to argue on that site. All right, we're back to the spinner. We're getting
back to the wheel.
One A girls. Let's do it. We've got some 3A girl fans and 4A boys that are just like, come on.
It's getting close to bedtime. All right, 1A girls. We'll go back to ACGC. This is a no-brainer for me. New Alfonda, especially if they have their full lineup, they're going to win this thing no problem. And Tri-Center, there's no one here at this site that I think is going to give them any sort of run. Then we head to Central Decatur. Now, this is a goofy site. projected to have
Yeah.
6 scoring teams. Wild in my mind. So there's 6 teams, 7 runners. There's not that many points that are going to add up. So Earlham and Van Buren are the 2 teams slated to move on, currently ranked number 6 and number 8, and both have ran all year like top 10 teams. Pleasantville and Wayne of Corden, I think, especially in a small field, if anything were to happen, especially to Van Buren, would be there. Pleasantville was our sleeper team last year, and they would be knocking on the door, but I don't think enough crazy things can happen for anyone to upset Earlham and Van Buren. Northwest Iowa, let's go Sioux Central and Sibley Ocheyedan, currently ranked 4th and 14 as the 2 ranked teams. Emmitsburg is the school, Hinton is the school that could very well pull an upset over Sibley Ocheyedan. I'd be curious to know if those 2 have raced throughout the year. Hinton, very, very strong 1 through 3, especially in a smaller field where their 4 and 5 can't get pushed back as much with projected 8 scoring teams. I think that gives Hinton a very strong chance to pull off an upset.
Mm-hmm. I'm with you on the 2 qualifiers. I'm going to stick with Sibley O in this one to move through.
I'll pull a Dewey. I'll go crazy. I'll go Hinton.
All right.
Where are we going next? Newman. We got Southwind, currently ranked number 2. Always, it seems, end of year, they've hidden under the radar all year. You talked about it a couple weeks ago. And here we are. They have that just elite pack that gets the job done consistently year after year, and they're going to be tough to beat. I don't think Collins Maxwell or anyone else will upset them for that matter. Potentially Applington Parkersburg. They've ran very well, especially coming down from Class 2A, but I don't think they have enough to take down either of the 2, especially Southwind, but I don't think they're going to take down number 10 Collins Maxwell either.
Yeah, I agree. I think Applington Parkersburg will make this very close, though. I could see them being within about 15 points of Collins Maxwell.
Let's go down to North Lynn. We got Linville, Sully, and Hudson as the 2, 11 and number 13. So this is one of those goofier sites. Usually you're thinking, okay, there's going to be a top 8 team and then a 9 through 16. Because remember, in Class 1A, we're only taking 2 teams. So that's where this one, again, is goofy, potentially leaving the door open for a school like North Tama, who's in years past had a lot of success in Class 1A. I don't think they have enough to pull off the upset over Hudson, especially if Hudson can put 3 in the top 5. They're going to be very, very tough to beat. So it's Linville, Sully, and Hudson for me.
Agree.
We go Pekin, another goofy one with projected only 7 scoring teams. Now, when you only have 7, there's less margin for error. You see it in especially like conference meets when there's only 8 teams or something like that. Crazy things can happen. Now, to me, Martinsdale, St. Mary's, and English Valleys are just incredible teams. English Valley, definitely more pack oriented, and Martinsdale, St. Mary's, relying on McLean and Obrender to lead them. They've ran very well all year. I don't think Louisa Muscatine or North Mahaska has what it takes to up them. I think Martinsdale, St. Mary's wins this one fairly comfortably, I'll say. Maybe in a small meet like this, I think 8 points is fairly comfortable. So I'll go Martinsdale, St. Mary's, and English Valley to move on.
I'm going to take English Valleys to win.
Very well. Obviously, Martinsdale relies a lot on 1-2 for very low points. They remind me a lot more of Winterset in a way of, they, not necessarily as strong at 3 and 4 as Winterset, but, they 5's got to get in, and that's for sure. Now, they are pretty balanced 5, 6, 7. So I think that will be okay for Martinsdale. South Hamilton. This is probably the site of Class 1A girls. This and Starmont, I think a lot of crazy things could happen. Madrid, obviously currently ranked number 3 by IETC. They'll move on without question. Panorama is a team that has surged very strongly at the end of the year. I think they have obviously the ranking next to their name. They have the historic success. Can teams like Manson, Northwest Webster, St. Edmund, Fort Dodge, or Alta Aurelia pull off that upset? That is what we're going to find out on Thursday of next week. Ben, do you think any of those 3 can upset Panorama?
Well, I think Panorama. I just think Kylie Rockhold, she missed so much of the season, so every time she races now, it's going to get better and better. And she's an all-state runner from last year, so I think Panorama makes it in comfortably.
I'm going to agree with you. I don't. This is the one where I want to make that upset pick, but I'm not going to, and I'm going to stick with Madrid and Panorama as well.
I'm going to hit the mouse, so keep going.
All right, perfect. We got last one here, Starmont, Sumner Fredericksburg, currently ranked number 1 in Class 1A. I think they also comfortably move on. Now we get to another mix of teams. Wapsie Valley currently ranked number 12. The IET or the cross country ratings website loves Turkey Valley. Now they only have 5 girls, so if anything goes wrong, very much in trouble. But if they can keep that pack together, especially 4 and 5, if they can close their gap on their number 3, do not be surprised if Turkey Valley pulls off an upset here. If they were in maybe a field where there was only 8 teams or 7 teams like some of the other sites, I think they'd have a very, very scary shot, especially against a team of Wapsie Valley caliber. Mac Valley, maybe Starmont on their home course, but, give me Turkey Valley.
You're taking Turkey Valley. I wish we had a mascot name for Turkey Valley.
Trojans.
The Trojans?
Yes.
Okay, the Turkey Valley. Are they still Jackson Junction?
Yes.
Turkey Valley,
Yep.
Jackson Junction Trojans. I'm going to take Wapsie Valley to move on.
All right.
And we're done with 1A. You got to be pretty poached over there.
That was a lot of afternoon research and short turnaround coming home from the hospital not that long ago.
All right. Moving on to go. For a boys. This one will be a pretty quick one. We'll start in Council Bluffs where it's DCG, Centennial, and Norwalk. Those will be the 3 that move on. Of any of the 4A sites, this is going to be the most competitive one where I think we're going to see 3 teams within 10 points of each other. DCG, probably the favorite on paper. They've got the head-to-heads over these schools by a slim margin, though. And I think it's going to be another very close matchup out in Council Bluffs. I'm going to take Norwalk to pull the upset and beat DCG. Look at that. Holy smokes. 51, 52, 52. I'm going to take, you know what? I scratched that. I'm going to take DCG, Norwalk, and Centennial in that order.
Man, they were just 3 points away from each other at Little Hawkeye. We both agree it's going to be the same 3. I kind of want to go Centennial. Give me Centennial for the win.
Okay. They didn't have Davis Jackson at the conference meet, Centennial. If he gets back, I think that's a big swing for them at that meet, probably 30 points or so. Centennial does have a head-to-head over Norwalk by 4 points this year as well. So this is going to be a fun one to follow out in Western Iowa. In Iowa City, wow, look at this. We've got 6 on the board here. However, I do think 3. I'm pretty confident in my 3. City High, Senior, and Kennedy. Kennedy is that wild card team. You know, I thought they'd be a little higher than 14 throughout the year. Still waiting for them to put it all together. City High, the divisional champs. Were they the divisional champs? No, third at the divisional. But hey, the City High is running as good as they have all year. They let me see here. They had all 5 in the top 15 at the divisional meet. 28-second spread for the Little Hawks. McDowell is the key. He's still in their 6 or 7 spot. If he can get back to where he was, City High wins this meet. Dubuque Senior, divisional champ on the other side, 16 points ahead of this Kennedy team. So that'll be interesting to follow. They had 3 in the top 10. And of course, Kennedy's got the 2 stars up front with Buckheister and Gray. Liberty, all underclassmen there with Decker. This is a really good meet. Iowa City West has had some good showings from time to time. Ames, the Alliance Conference champion, down there at 6th. But I'm going to go with those 3.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think Liberty's going to probably have to try and do some different things in order to pull the upset. Obviously, Decker at 1. There's, not necessarily that they're going to get 1 point at this meet, but very likely. They got to win those head-to-head matchups, especially at 3, 4, and 5. If they can do that, because they're probably they're not going to win at 2. So if they can win those, that's what it's going to take to pull the upset. I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's going to be Senior, City High, and Kennedy.
You going Senior first or City first?
I'm
going City.
Yeah, I'm going to go City as well. I think Linus also, that's just, yes, City High. Give me City High.
Johnston, we've got number 1 Indianola. We'll talk more, I'm sure, next week about the Indians, the Little Hawkeye Conference champions. They will see Johnston on their home course, which we think might be an underrated number 7 after that CIML Conference Championship, and Dowling Catholic at number 13. Just hasn't been the year probably Dowling Catholic was hoping for as we started the year, but it's still a good team. This is a very strong region here, Kyle. I think you've got 3 top 8 teams possibly. Dowling still no William Tice, hasn't raced since Griak. Johnston is running as good as anyone in 4A as far as a trend and where they're going. And then, of course, Indianola. This is going to be a fascinating matchup. I'll take Indianola, Johnston, and Dowling in that order.
Same for me.
All right. Next up is Marshalltown, and it's number 2 Cedar Falls as the favorite out in Marshalltown. Number 11 Northwest. I think when the rankings come out tomorrow, they're going to move up there from number 11. And then you've got a nice 15-16 matchup between Dubuque Hempstead Mustangs and the Waukee Warriors. However, I just think that Dubuque Hempstead is the favorite in this matchup. 15-16. The computer likes Dubuque Hempstead. Neither has a low stick. Hempstead probably with a little bit more depth. Hempstead got a nice head-to-head earlier this year against some of these CIML schools. I'm going to go with Hempstead. Waukee having a fine year, though. Didn't expect them to be in the state meet conversation, Kyle. And they kind of creeped along quietly this year and put themselves in a good chance to make Fort Dodge.
Yeah, I agree with you as well. I don't think I had Hempstead as high on my list to start the year in Class 4A. They've definitely outperformed my expectations. They got a little bit of a road trip here coming out to Marshalltown. I'm going to guess a little bit shorter drive than Waukee. That could play a factor, but I agree with you. I think Hempstead gets the job done and moves on with exactly as you mentioned, Cedar Falls and Northwest.
Both running their best. Now, Hempstead throws some crazy spreads out there, by the way. This is a team that ran 23 seconds spread 1-5 at the divisional. Henry Abbott and Ben Peterson running well for Waukee should be fun to follow. And then in Pleasant Valley, over in the Quad Cities, you've got Prairie, PV, and Bettendorf. I liken this to the same type of matchup that was in Council Bluffs. I think this is going to be 3 schools within 10 to 15 points. Let's see what the computer says. And they agree as well. Prairie probably the favorite. However, I think PV on their home course, Kyle, at Crow Creek. I'm going to take PV for the upset over Cedar Rapids Prairie at Crow Creek. Can Pleasant Valley get their number 5 a little bit higher than what it was at the MAC Conference Championships? If they can, I think they win this meet in or at Crow Creek over Prairie and Bettendorf.
I feel like this is just a repeat of the MAC conference and just add in a couple more teams. I think it's pretty safe that Prairie, Bettendorf, and PV move on. I don't think Linn-Mar or Davenport Central will give them a run, but I think Bettendorf and PV are probably getting sick of racing each other.
Yeah.
Give me Prairie for the win.
Okay.
And Bettendorf and PV tie.
Who breaks the tie?
Who breaks the tie? PV breaks the tie.
All right. Okay, last one is 3A girls. We don't even need to spin the wheel. And we'll start up in at Iowa State, rather, for the Gilbert site. Des Moines Christian, Winterset, and Gilbert. Let's start with Des Moines Christian. They're putting it together, sure, at the right time. Roberts, the new number 1, kind of overtaken Ayrton, but they're a nice 1-2 combo. Just exactly what you need in Fort Dodge. They're going to move on easily out of this site. Then it's that Winterset Gilbert rematch. I'm going to take Winterset on the rematch here, Kyle. I just think that 1-4 in this meet is going to be too much for Gilbert to overcome. Both move on easily. If there is an outside shot here, it is North Polk, but the gap at that RRC meet at your place was just too much, I think, for either of these teams to overcome. Now, I will say this. If one of those 4 is off for Winterset, that brings North Polk definitely into play. We hope that isn't the case, obviously, but no margin for error here for the Huskies.
Right. I'm with you. I think Winterset knows what they got to do to get the job done, and get with that 1 through 4. I think they'll be just fine. I think their 5 will perform well, and not say better than the RRC meet, but I think they'll be just fine and keep it close with Gilbert for second again.
Down in Pella at Central College, I think we'll see a perfect score out of the Dutch, and we'll get to talk more next week about their chances to go for the 4-peat. Behind them, this is mayhem in Pella.
Mayhem.
Pella's going to finish the race, and they get to watch what could be the most exciting region of any, as this is going to be highly contested. Let's start with the Boone Toreadors, 6th at the RRC. What happened, Kyle?
I think they were missing 2 of their runners, if I remember right.
1 and 3, Brielle Johnson and Emily Thomas.
I have no clue. I got no inside source. I know nothing, but I do know if they do not have those 2, they will not finish in the top 3. So I hope for their sake that they are back. Obviously, it's been an impressive year for them with what they've accomplished. I hope everyone's good, everyone's healthy, because when they are, it's going to make a heck of even better race with all of them. But I really hope that they are. But we will find out on Wednesday.
ADMA Dell 4th, and I thought it was maybe their best meet of the year at your place on Monday at the conference meet. 67-second spread for the Tigers. Von Roden and Ingelston ran very well for Adel. Cedar Rapids Xavier coming down, 4th at their divisional meet. Mia Deegan and freshman Riley Barton, both in the top 7 in a very strong division there, 4A schools. I think this would go a lot of different ways. I'm going to put my faith in the Boone Toreadors as I have since last November when we did the preseason way too early rankings. I'm going Pella, Boone, and ADM Adel to get through here in Pella. CCA, a long shot. I just don't know if they can get themselves in the mix there, Kyle. I'll go with those 3.
I think so too. And if it's if Boone is not full strength, then I think it's Pella, ADM, then Xavier. But again, I hope Boone has full squad.
Yeah.
But this is going to be a wild one.
Up in Spencer, you've got Sioux Center. And every week they seem to impress more and more. Last week, Macy Van Arsten didn't run, and she's closing in on their top two girls with Jones and Isaacson, and they still ran away up there with the Siouxland Conference title. MOC Floyd Valley, experience there with Natalie Anderson, 3 seniors on this team for MOC Floyd Valley. I like that. Harlan, the Hawkeye 10 conference champions, they had their best meet this year. At that meet, Ashlyn Rao, Julia Heslink, a freshman for the Cyclones, they're running very well. And then you've got Bishop Heelan, the Missouri River Conference champions. A lot of conference championship teams in here. Addison Bertrand of Bishop Heelan, a conference champion individually. Kyle, MOC Floyd Valley has a 10-point head-to-head on these schools at Sioux Center and a 30-point at Tim Thomas. Harlan has an 11-point head-to-head on MOC Floyd Valley and a 44-point head-to-head on Heelan. I don't even know if that made sense. I'm losing my mind right now. But
no matter what, I think this one's going to be crazier than people think. You can't rule out Heelan. I don't even Humboldt. I think could even make some noise here.
Yeah, with the 2 girls there with Fisher and Malo.
Yep.
Oh man, this is going to be something else up in Northwest Iowa. Who are you going with?
So I'm going to go Sioux Center, MOC Floyd Valley, and Heelan. And I think Harlan and Humboldt are both within like 5-10 points or less of Heelan for third.
I'm going to go with Heelan as well to move on. Sioux Center, MOC, and did I say Heelan? I meant Harlan. I'm going Harlan. Sioux Center, MOC, and Harlan. West Delaware is Mount Vernon and Decorah. They're going to move on easily through this site. They're looking strong at the right time. Decorah hasn't raced since September. I'm literally losing my mind here. October 7th. They haven't raced. Tight group there with Volkman and Ruth Cooney, another freshman. Solon in red. They were second at the WAMAC with Phelan Solstad. How about her runner-up finish in that race over there at the WAMAC Championships? And they have to face Wahlert. I think it's Solon making it through pretty easily. They are in red just because a little inconsistent here over the last month. I think they put it together with that state meet experience and move on.
Yeah, and that's a crazy conundrum for Decorah because I don't think they're in the conference. So there's not many meets that you can go to the week of conference. So they can't just like the WAMAC can't just say, "Hey, Decorah, come down and run at our conference meet." So I think that's something that like you and I as a Big 12 member for wrestling, can Decorah become a member of a conference for cross country or something?
It's Kyle's random thoughts here late in the night.
We got it in, but I think it is those 3. I think Wahlert and Lucy Murphy keep it close with Solon, but I think it is those 3.
If you thought Pella was nuts, wait until you go to Williamsburg. I might go to Williamsburg just for fun, Kyle, to see this thing play out. I don't know if we've ever had a site with all red or all no locks to make it to the state meet. How fun is this?
This if you have nothing to do on Wednesday, go to Williamsburg because
we've saved the best for last.
This was all on the wheel too. I feel like we're on the Price is Right going to the showdown.
Oh,
this is insane. Take it away.
All right, Ballard. Let's start with them. All underclassmen led by 2 freshmen. Williamsburg third at the WAMAC on their home course. I think that plays an advantage here. Only 3 back from Solon and a 7-point win over a team in the region, Centerpoint Urbana. Keep that in mind. Fort Madison, ranked number 5. They haven't lost a meet since August 30th, and we've got them in red.
Jeez.
They've
Ultra.
burned me, Kyle. They've burned me too many times. I hope this gets down to the southeast corner of the state and they come through here. I've been Team Fort Madison for years, and they've let me down at this meet, Kyle.
Yeah, because they got edged out by 1 last year, if I remember right, or it was very close at Pella, if I
As
remember
a
right.
heavy favorite to make it through at least. But look at what the computer says. It's just even more crazy.
Right. And look at the IATC rankings. It should go 5, 8, 14, 17. No, it goes 14, 5, 17, 8. And then if you can't see it, I don't think on your screen with the crosscountryratings.com, none of them are considered in the top 10 for that website. They're
And their
11,
order
12,
was off
13,
too.
15. Right. So
we saved the best for last.
This is probably going to be the one I first look up on my phone.
Yep.
On the way home from Ames on Wednesday.
I'm ready to make my pick. I have been impressed with Williamsburg the last month. They're on their home course. I'm taking them for the win. I'm going to take Brock Bierman's Ballard Bombers second. Then I'm going to take Fort Madison to come through and take their show to Fort Dodge, a very long drive. You look nervous to make your picks. I'm going Williamsburg, Ballard, and the Bloodhounds of Fort Madison to get to Fort Dodge in our last one of the night.
Man, I'm thrown for a loop here. I think CPU, like this is great because it gives them a good, they have the opportunity to qualify. I think at other sites too, obviously they'd have good shots, but this is a balanced shot. I think the Bloodhounds win. I think they edge out Ballard, and then I think Williamsburg holds on for third, and CPU just gets edged out.
Unbelievable. Well, I'm glad we finished with that one because that is going to be some site in Williamsburg, Iowa, on a beautiful course over there as well. You've been there. It's be a good show for that type of event in that type of lineup. So good stuff, Kyle. We made it to the finish line. This is one where the next day my voice will be a little hoarse at school, but we made it. A lot of work went into this show, and I want to thank you for your work this week, going through what was a very long week. Congratulations on the birth of your child. And hopefully now you can relax a little bit and enjoy this week. No?
I don't know. I'm gonna have a lot of night shift, I think.
Yeah.
I don't like sleeping in. I like my sleep. I like balanced sleep. So this is definitely a new wake up for me, literally. But we're excited for this week. It's going to be a great week. We're going to finish the season strong. But if I fall asleep at any of the future shows, cut me some slack.
Well, best of luck to your team this week as well. And next week on the Exchange Zone, there's no time to take a break for us. It's all about the state meet. We'll get you ready for the Fort Dodge State Championship coming up next week on the Exchange Zone on Sunday night at 7:30. As always, if you would, subscribe, follow, like, share. The more, the better as we continue to push this podcast and every other thing that's going on here at the IATC out to the world and grow the sport of cross country in track and field. Boys, great work tonight. Brock, excellent job on the graphics and all that stuff behind the scenes here. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to the Exchange Zone. This is a great week, mid-50s, upper 50s. It's cross-country weather. It's state qualifying meet. Wednesdays, 3A, 4A. Thursdays, 1A, 2A. Go out, have fun, get out to a race, and come back next Sunday, and we'll recap and get you ready for the state meet. Have a great week, everyone. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you next weekend.